Okay, welcome to cooking class. And so we've already prepped. We've peeled our potatoes, cut them, boiled them, and we have them here cooling. So we need to make sure they're fork tender. And you don't want to make them too soggy or the potatoes would hold too much water. So spread your potatoes out on something so they're not touching as much as you can. So they begin to cool. You can see the steam rising off of them and we want them to get cooled off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mash them. And you can do that in a number of ways. You can just use a potato masher like this. If you don't have this, you can use a fork. But you need to really make sure that all the lumps are out of them. I like to use this. It's called a ricer. And you open this up, put your potatoes in, and you squeeze them out. It's kind of like Play-Doh. It's fun to do. They also have a thing called a food mill that you can put in. It's like a screen, and you can squeeze the potatoes through. And the idea is you just don't want any lumps in them because when you make your gnocchi, you want them just really smooth and not lumpy.
No lumps.
No. So these are pretty cool. They're warm. What we're going to do is rice them onto a tray. Now let's just rice them back onto here. Okay? And the first thing before we do this, we need to turn on a pan of water to get our gnocchis cooking. Okay? Because the pan of water takes a while to come to a boil. So go ahead and turn your pan on now. You probably need like a quart of water to boil in there and have that ready. So as soon as the gnocchi is done, we're going to boil them. Okay? So first we're going to rice these and Brian's going to help me do that. So just rice them. Yeah, let me get a paper towel. That's a little damp on there. Yeah. So if there's any moisture, just try to get rid of it. It's a little bit of condensation here on the tray. So you want your potatoes as dry as you can get them because if you add too much flour to your gnocchis, they're not going to be tender and fluffy. They're going to be tough. So we want to try and keep that as dry as we can. So just going to rice them here. So this is fun.
Anywhere?
Yep. The kids can help do this because this is super fun. You can do your exercises.
Ooh.
Whoops. And sometimes they spray all over.
I'm going slow because it's shooting everywhere.
Yeah. So you gotta go slow. See how they come out like little worms? That's super fun. Yeah. And it's better to have like something flat in an open space. So as these get riced, we can spread them out. So you don't want that condensation building up in there. Once again, you want your potatoes dry. And then we're gonna let these cool completely until we finish the recipe.
So these are native to Uruguay?
Yeah, actually, in Uruguay, they eat gnocchi on the 29th of every month, and they do it for good luck. They actually say the tradition started many years ago that by the end of the month, you don't have any money to buy a lot of food. So usually everybody has some potatoes, some flour, an egg laying around, so you can make a nice meal out of it. And they also have the tradition after you eat, you take some money and put it under your plate. That's okay. Yeah, hands work good. We've washed our hands. Do that first. And you can put money under the plate, and that's like for good luck. So make sure you have money next month. Or something else you could do is you can write a little note and put it under your plate. So that would be nice to do as a family. Write a little note to someone else in your family and tuck it under your plate, and everybody can read them. And write something nice, of course.
I thought gnocchis were Italian.
Well, they are Italian, but there's a lot of Italians in Uruguay. We eat a lot of fresh pasta and pizza. And this is one of their traditions that's kind of become adopted as a Uruguayan tradition. So on the 29th of every month, you can remember Uruguay and eat gnocchi.
All right, that's it.
Okay. So you're going to let them cool off a little bit more. We'll just spread them out. So we'll just go over the other ingredients. We need flour. This can be any kind of all-purpose flour. If you're gluten-free, you can use gluten-free flour. We're going to need salt, pepper, and an egg. Is there anything else on our list there we need? I think we got it all.
Russet potatoes, I guess that's important, huh?
Well, yeah, you can use any kind of potato. You can experiment, but russet potatoes are drier than other potatoes, so you're looking to get something dry. Oh, and I forgot to mention that if you don't want to boil your potatoes, you can also put your potatoes in the microwave, scrub them, pierce them with a fork all over, put them in the microwave for like 8 to 10 minutes till they're done, take them out, and then just scoop out the flesh and then you're going to rice them just like this or mash them. Okay, so it's the same thing.
Just potatoes, salt, pepper, flour,
Yep.
and egg.
Okay, so what do we do next? We're gonna put our
Guess we're
flour.
supposed to mix it, right?
Yeah, so we put our flour. How much flour do we need?
1 cup of flour.
Okay, so I have a half a cup of measure here. And gnocchis are very forgiving. Like you can put a little too much flour and your potatoes might be a little bigger one time than another time, but if they're sticky, you can add a little bit more flour, but you don't want to add too much flour because once again, they're going to be tough because you don't want to knead them a lot to make them tender. You just want to handle them as little as you can. So we're going to use that flour, then we'll need some more flour for dusting on our counter. And we need
1 egg.
Okay, you want to break the egg in that bowl? Because we're gonna beat our egg before we put it in. But first we're gonna put our potatoes in with our flour, right?
So beat this in here.
Yeah. So we're gonna put our potatoes in the flour, correct?
Yeah.
And we're gonna put our salt and pepper. These are pretty cool. Just gonna put all of our potatoes in here. And I like to put them in a bowl with a wooden spoon. You can also just do it right on the counter if you want. So I think we're gonna put in here half a teaspoon of salt, right?
Half a teaspoon of
And,
salt.
and then we're gonna put a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper.
Yep.
Make sure you season that up. We didn't put any salt in the water when we boiled the potatoes, but we're going to put salt in the water. We're gonna salt it pretty good when we cook our gnocchi, but don't put your salt in the pan before it comes to a boil because the salt could fall to the bottom and it makes little pits, or they call them scars, in your pans. So first we're gonna stir these dry things together, and this coats all the potato with the flour to make a nice dough. So you can stir it more now, so you won't have to knead it as much. So we're just doing that, combining it.
Folding it.
Yeah, stirring, kind of. Then we're gonna make a little well, a little hole. Okay, and then you can,
That's where the egg goes.
yeah, just dump the egg in there. And this serves 4 people. It depends if you're going to eat it as a main dish, like they do in Uruguay, or if you're gonna have it beside some chicken and make it as a side dish. You can double this recipe, but gnocchi dough doesn't keep well in the fridge, or gnocchis once you roll them. So it's best to make them and cook all of them, roll them and cook them all, or else roll them all and freeze the ones you're not going to use right away. Put them like on a sheet like this, a baking sheet in the freezer. Wait till they freeze and then they'll be separate. Then pick them up and just put them in a Ziploc and keep them in the freezer, and they keep well, but they don't keep well in the fridge. You can make them and cook them and have them left over in the refrigerator to reheat with sauce, but not the raw dough. Because of the potato and the moisture content, it doesn't hold well. Okay, so now we're going to, if you want to get rid of that tray, and we'll put this one here. And we're going to sprinkle some flour on the counter to put the dough on. And also, if you want to put some, this is what you need a sieve for, but it's optional. If you don't have a sieve, you can just use your hand. But put some of that and tap it to fill that pan with flour, and then you can fill that one too. The gnocchis really need to have a lot of flour so they don't stick to the baking pan, and also so they don't stick to each other, okay? So we're just gonna flour things up
Probably
and get them ready.
Much, huh?
Yeah, it's a little too much, but it's okay. You need like that much, but we're gonna need more to sprinkle on top. So once we have them on, we'll sprinkle more flour. So that's the fun part. The kids can get involved in that. So we're going to knead our dough just a few times. We'll need some more to sprinkle on, so that's fine. So we're just gonna try and gather this like in a little ball. And then we're gonna dump it on our counter. You can use a table or whatever you have to mix it, but you don't wanna get too much flour in it. So we put just enough to cover. And so we're gonna knead it just like 4 or 5 times, just so it sticks together. And then what we're going to do, and get the dough off your fingers. Then what we're going to do, I use a bench scraper, but you can just use a knife. But I like to just cut the dough with this. So we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to cut these in half again. So I'll give you 2 of them to roll. And this will be my tray. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll it into a snake, about as big around as your finger, like 1/2 inch. So make it into a roll, maybe like 20 inches long, just to give you an idea. So just roll it out. And if they start to crumble apart, if they're too wet, they'll stick. You'll need to add a little more flour. So try to just work them slowly. And this is why it's important that your potatoes are cool, so it doesn't make the dough too warm and sticky. So roll them till you get a pretty good snake here. Okay, how's yours?
Your snake is looking better.
I think yours needs to be a little thinner.
Thinner?
Yeah. Well, I guess your fingers are thicker than mine. Yeah, you don't want your gnocchis too big because they can get tough. So yeah, that's pretty good there, I think.
Sure.
And then I'm going to use this. I have another one of these, but you can use a knife. All right. So I usually just cut it in half and then cut them in about 1/2 inch pieces. And I like them smaller than bigger. They cook faster and I think are more tender. So you can use whatever you have to cut them with. You don't really need a sharp knife, just a butter knife will do. And you can just cook them just like this. Some people just do them like they look like little pillows. Whenever you cook them, they'll float and they're nice. But by making the ridges in them, the typical gnocchi, that holds the sauce. Those ridges hold the sauce better, so they're more flavorful. Okay. And they do make fancy gnocchi rollers, but I don't have one right here. So we're going to use it as a fork. I think everybody has a fork. You can do it on the front or the back. I like to use the back. You just take your gnocchi. I like to put the cut side against the fork, and you press down and you just roll it. So you get these little grooves. That one didn't roll very good. It gets little grooves in it. And then you're going to lay them right on that floured tray or plate, whatever you have. So roll them, press them till they get the ridges on them, and put them on your plate, on your tray. Okay? So this is fun. All the family can help do this. It's not really technical. And if you get tired of rolling them, you can just cook them like that, like little pillows. Oh, yours look really good.
Kind of look like Cheetos.
Okay. And make sure that you check your water, see if that's boiling, keep that going, because these cook really fast. But what we're going to do is we're going to finish rolling these, and then we're going to make a sauce called a Caruso sauce, which is a typical sauce in Uruguay. On the recipe sheet, I gave you a couple different ideas for different sauces you can use. And you can do all kinds of different things with them.
What's in the Caruso?
The Caruso has ham, onions, mushrooms, and cream and cheese. So that's a typical sauce. Another one is they call it tuco, which is like a basic, what do you call it? Bolognese? How do you say that?
Bolognese?
That.
Okay.
The tomato sauce with meat. Or they also make it with chicken. We usually make it with hamburger, but a lot of times they make it like meat that you like shred with 2 forks. Like it has shredded meat, not just the ground beef. So you can make that. Or you can just put olive oil and salt and pepper, some cheese. You can do Alfredo sauce.
So people only eat these for good luck?
No, they eat them all the time, but they especially eat them on the 29th. It's just a tradition. All the restaurants will serve it on the 29th. They'll have a lunch special, and it's always gnocchis. And yeah. So when you roll these, the ridges help hold the sauce, and also it makes a little like dent in the back, and that helps hold a little more sauce in it too.
Do they only make them out of potatoes?
Well, you can make them out of sweet potatoes. I've heard of them out of squash, and also some with spinach. This is just the very basic, so if you like making these, you can look up some recipes of different ones, of different things you can combine. And you can eat them every 29th, like we do. Okay. Then once you take your sieve and put some more,
Over top?
yeah, put some more flour over top, and you can do some of mine. I need a little more here on the table. So just keep adding more flour as you need it, but try to do it just so it doesn't stick. Try not to add a lot more flour into your dough because you don't want them to become tough. Just sprinkle me. So it's important they don't stick to the tray or to each other. So you can kind of roll them and shake them up there. There you go. Then we're on to the next snake. Give me a little more here. So this is
Good.
fun. The whole family, yeah, the whole family can do this. Kids love to roll stuff. It's like Play-Doh. Something therapeutic about cooking. And I started to crack a little bit here, just kind of squeeze it together. We're going to finish rolling these, and then we're going to stop and let them rest just a minute or two, and I'm going to start the sauce. Because the gnocchis cook so fast, and they're best when they're hot, we're going to boil them, and I'm going to make the sauce meanwhile. So the sauce will be simmering while the gnocchis are cooking, and they'll be ready at the same time. Mine's getting a little long, so I'm going to cut it here so I have more room and roll this a little thinner. Yeah, so we're going to make it about 1/2 inch thick, which is about the size of an adult finger. If your kids are helping, don't roll it as thin as their fingers. Okay, and then we just chop about 1/2 inch. They're fun to make to invite some friends over and tell them you made your own pasta. It's really not that hard. Also, one time with these, I made gnocchi soup, remember? Like the Olive Garden kind. And that was good. You can use the gnocchis in soup. You could use them in different things.
You make them and freeze them?
Yeah, you can freeze them uncooked, freeze them just the dough, or you can cook them and have them in the fridge and reheat them. But don't store the raw dough in the fridge because of the moisture. Yeah. So tomorrow's it's going to snow. This is a good time, winter time, for making pasta and homemade sauces and soups. And and they certainly don't have to be perfect. They come out all different kinds of shapes. They're rustic, but they're delicious. I have eaten sweet potato ones, but I haven't tried making them myself. These look really good. You're getting some good ridges in them. That'll hold lots of sauce. Am I okay?
Yeah. Can you deep fry these?
Never tried it, but I guess you can deep fry anything. Yeah, they're fun in the wintertime to eat with a nice thick sauce, or in the summertime to eat like with some grilled chicken, just a light pesto sauce with some fresh basil out of the garden. I have some here I had in the freezer, pesto I made from my basil this year out of the garden. And we're gonna have the taste test at the end.
I did my whole snake at once.
Yeah, I was running out of room, so I...
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Like I said, these are very forgiving. It's really hard to mess them up, so that's what's so nice about this recipe. So don't be afraid to try it. And it doesn't take a lot of expensive ingredients or expensive equipment. I think all of us have forks at our house. Just a few potatoes feeds a lot of people. Yeah, these will puff up some while they cook.
I think I need a bigger tray.
Yeah, it's surprising how many they do make. That was just 2 potatoes and for 4 people. Some of my friends in Uruguay say you should use 2 potatoes per person. So it depends how hungry you are. This is, I use less than that. Okay, you got them all rolled?
Yep.
Okay. You need to make sure your pan of water is boiling before you put the gnocchis in, because it'll stop boiling once you put them in. So we're gonna let these rest just a minute and we're gonna start our sauce. So let me turn that burner on momentarily, okay, to get the sauce started. Because even though it takes a little bit of time to make the dough and roll them, this really is an easy dinner, one of those 30-minute meals. Okay, so we got a little cleaned up from rolling our gnocchi. Now we're gonna start one of the sauces. The pan is almost to a boil, so meanwhile I'm gonna start doing the Caruso sauce. I've got a pan of sauce back here, so this is like a meat tomato sauce. You can use your favorite recipe for your meat sauce, or you can just buy a jar of it too. I'm gonna put about 2 tablespoons of oil in a pan. And it's nice when you prep all of your ingredients before you start. So here I have a small onion chopped. A nice sizzle on there. Okay, Brian, is your water boiling yet? I see it. Okay, there's some salt there. It's good to use about a tablespoon of salt for a quart. That might sound like a lot, but they say salt water for pasta should be as salty as the sea. So it should be pretty salty because that's the way you get flavor into your pasta. So now,
you just drop these in individually?
Yeah, that's the thing. Drop them where the water's boiling and try to drop them in different places. Watch you don't get splashed because it can be pretty hot. And the gnocchis float pretty quickly after they are in the boiling water. So you're probably going to do about half of each batch of your gnocchis. So you're going to have to boil 4 batches of them with this amount. So each one of those, half a tray, would be a serving for 1 person if this serves 4.
So when they float, that means they're done?
No, after they float, I usually cook them a minute or 2 longer. You can test them to see if they taste doughy or if they taste okay. And just once you get them all in, some of them will already float by the time you get the rest in, but that's okay. This onion smells so good. And some people say they don't like onions, but this really is a flavor that like melts in the background. It just gives it really good flavor, so don't be afraid to use it. And if you'd like, I've got a slotted spoon and some other things. You could put them on a spoon and drop them in, or just maybe the other little spoon. It's good to have something like that to scoop them out because it gets rid of the water and holds all the gnocchi. If you want to get the slotted spoon, the small one, you could pick them up and drop them in, or however you like to do it. Just don't splash yourself.
You're getting some floaters.
Yep, they're starting to float, so let's look at the clock. We should set a timer. We'll let them go for like 2 minutes. Okay?
So only do like half of these?
Yeah, do half the tray, and then they're starting to float, that'll need to come back to a boil, and let them boil for like 2 minutes. My onion is getting soft. I chopped up here about 4 ounces of fresh mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to add them, but they also melt into the sauce and give it a really good flavor. So just let them cook down for a few minutes.
Should I stir this at all?
No, you don't have to stir it. They just float and they'll do their thing. The boiling water will bring them up and bubble them around and keep them apart. Unless you see some of them sticking, you can stir them up a little bit. But usually they're pretty good. You can write in the comment box anytime, any type of sauce that you like. Maybe you could put like cheese sauce, like macaroni and cheese, or all kinds of sauces. You can try out new combinations and let us know what your favorite is.
Boiling away.
Yeah? Okay. Just give them about a minute or two. And these are best whenever they're hot and they're fresh. Go ahead and make your sauce and eat them right away. And sometimes that'll mean everyone will try a little bit, and then as the more get done, everybody can have more. The mushrooms are getting soft and smelling very good. That looks good. If you want, you can stir them on the edge, make sure they're not sticking. It doesn't look like they are. They do look like Cheetos in there now.
So I guess you can't make big batches of these.
Now, if you make a big batch, freeze them right away. Or you can make them and cook them all, and then you can heat them up. Like if you want to have it from one day to the next, if you're having company, you can make the pasta the day before and cook it, and then just reheat it in the sauce. Because you can either just pour the sauce on the gnocchi and eat it that way, or you can put the cooked pasta into the skillet of sauce and cook them up a little bit, saute them, and maybe pick up a little more of the flavor.
In about 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. You want to get a spoon and try one? Why don't you get that spoon there and pull one out? See if they taste okay. Don't get burned. Get a taste test one. It's hot. See how it tastes. You can get hold of it.
Still a little doughy.
Okay, then we'll let it go a little longer. Sometimes the water doesn't come up to a boil right away and they have to be in there a little longer, so just taste them. If they taste a little doughy yet, a little raw, let them go longer. Okay. I'm going to put some salt and pepper on my Caruso sauce, a little bit there. And I'm also going to dump in some about 4 ounces of sliced ham. Just deli ham, or if you have leftover ham from a meal, you can just chop that and put it in as well. Just let that cook up a little bit. Stir this sauce back here. Smelling really good now. We're getting hungry.
It does.
Think they're done now?
About a minute.
That's why it's good just to do them in small groups so they don't crowd and they have enough water to cook them. If you put them all at once, they could stick together and they could get all doughy. So, even though it's harder to wait a little longer, it's better to cook them in batches.
Just take them all out at once?
Yeah. Let them drain a little bit and that water drip off. Put them in there. Got them all? Okay. And then just make sure that water comes up to a boil again before you put in the next batch of the gnocchis. Okay. Your water boiling again? There it
Not
goes.
yet.
Yeah, it's boiling in the middle there. Came back pretty quick, okay? And my sauce is looking good. I'm gonna put in, this is about 2 cups of cream. Is this a pint, I think? I'm just gonna pour this in. I'm just gonna let this simmer. You really don't wanna let a cream sauce boil hard, but this will thicken a little as it simmers. And by the time all the gnocchis are done, the sauce will be done and we'll be ready to eat. I've never tried it, but if you're dairy free, you might be able to use coconut milk or almond milk for this sauce instead. I haven't tried it, but try it and let me know how that works. Stir this a little. There we go, simple sauce. And very delicious. Okay, going in for the second batch. This up to turn it up a little bit. Okay, because that water's coming up to a boil again.
Some floaters.
Yep. They float pretty quickly. Just let them boil a few minutes after they float.
Do you want to see if those are alright?
Yeah, they look good. A little bit of water on the bottom. I'm going to drain that off. Our first batch. So that's a serving. That would be like a serving for one person. Then with your sauce and any toppings on top of it. Everybody can choose their own sauce if they want. You can make a sauce for the whole batch. You could put all of the gnocchi into a big pan of sauce and everybody have the same, or put a few sauces out and let people choose what they like.
So you just let that thicken and that's it?
Yeah.
For that sauce?
It's just gonna, the cream will thicken, it'll simmer a little bit and get a little thicker. Then we'll put that on. This meat sauce here just has some ground beef, onions, garlic, basil, oregano, some tomato sauce, some tomato paste. And that can go on as well. Okay, we've got the second batch boiling. Just another minute or two.
20 minutes later.
Okay, we've finished cooking off the end of our pasta, the last batch, the fourth serving. And our Caruso sauce is done. So we're gonna sauce this one up and get ready to do a taste test. Turn this off. Our sauce has thickened up a little bit, simmered for a few minutes. And this sauce will thicken as it cools as well. Got them all?
One floater.
Okay, I'll bring it over here and we'll put the sauce on. This is the Caruso sauce with cream and mushrooms, onions and ham, a little salt and pepper. Just real simple and very delicious. Put a little more cream in, okay? And over here we have a bowl with some of the meat sauce. And then we've got some pesto, this one, the Caruso sauce, and this one. You want to pass me the olive oil? Is it over there? Oh, it's back here.
Nope.
Never mind. You pass the salt. Yeah, the salt and pepper and parsley. So we're just going to make this one real simple. You can use butter, just brown butter. Be careful because brown butter goes to burn butter very fast. Has a really good flavor though. We could put some sage in it. Just a little Italian way, a little salt, a little freshly ground pepper, and a little fresh chopped parsley. And there we go. So now we're gonna have the taste test. Could you pass me a spoon over there, please? Or there's some bigger size spoons. There you go. We'll just stir this up a little. So you need to let us know which sauce is your favorite. All right. And of course, you need to have cheese. Parmesan cheese, this is actually a mix of some mozzarella and some Asiago, I think, and some Parmesan. Just some kind of Italian cheese blend. Put on top of them. Which one would you like to try first?
Try this one, I guess. The meat sauce.
Okay. I'm going to try the pesto. And I think we have another taste tester here. Let me see. Here he comes, our third taste tester. Hi.
Hi.
Which one would you like to try? The meat sauce,
Oh my goodness.
pesto,
The Caruso.
cream, or Olive oil, this one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Get you a little more.
It all looks good. It all smells good.
I'll give you a spoon. Try that one. What do you think? The pesto's good.
Meat's good.
That's good.
Yep. It's a winner.
We didn't even put cheese on. You have to have cheese. Want some cheese?
Sure.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Wanna try another one? Okay.
Wow.
I think they're all good. I'm gonna try the meat sauce. And some cheese. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Very
you
good.
can make one big pot of gnocchi. Makes 4 servings. You can make 4 sauces. Everybody can choose, or you can make just one pot. And like I said, you can dump the gnocchi into the sauce and let it cook a little bit there too to get a little more flavor. And those little ridges that you put in with a fork, that helps hold the sauce and make them delicious. Thanks so much for joining us. As we would say in Uruguay, buen provecho.